Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Raya, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body a living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they're out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up by reading, praying, fasting, being diligent, taking notes, steadfast, doing everything they could do, right, to put themselves in a position to go out there to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing that actually sincerely reverence their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, right? Remaining diligent, doing everything they could do to magnify the ministry, right? Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, man. Abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the whole entire nation that's reading more than ever in the last days, praying more than ever in the last days, fasting more than ever in the last days, standing 10 toes down for the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua in prophecy, man, right? And it's going to be an in-depth breakdown on the ancient tactics of war and leaving the second wilderness, how the elect is going to take down the heathen and ravish all of the lands. Yeah, we know what's going to happen. We may read a precept or link this precept with that, but how is it all going to take place, man? A prophecy, I mean, you have to be in prophecy, man. You have to know the in-depth details in these accounts in order, how it's going to come to pass, how these things are going to play out on the earth, right? And that's very important. Let's go. Let me share my screen through the spirit, right? Salaki, bear with me. Salaki. And give me a strong con if brothers and sisters can see my screen through the spirit, right? Give me a strong con. I want to go to the book of Sirach, chapter 39. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse number 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancients. Who is the ancient? Samuel's an ancient, man. He has ancient proverbs. You have Jeremiah, Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel. These men are the ancients, and they have prophecies and parables and dark knowledge, you understand, and be occupied in prophecies. See, you have to be occupied in these prophecies, man. Can't be occupied on everyday life. Getting sifted out slowly, man. Letting the cares of this life overwhelm you, man, through sorrow and distress. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. A lot of brothers are there when mischief is there. He's there also. Or when lust is there. He's there also, man. Or when wrath and wickedness and sin is there, that man's there also, man. What's that man that's going to be there with the subtle parables, with the dark knowledge, with the hidden secret and mysteries and allegories, man? And we have to dig these things out in the last days through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. I'm going to kick it off by going to the book of Zechariah, right? Let's go to the book of Zechariah through the spirit. And let's start at verse 13. So when you read the book of Zechariah, right, the 12th chapter is ending off and the 13th chapter is picking right back up with what the 12th chapter was going into. So in Zechariah, the 12th chapter, the latter end of it, right, verse 10 all the way down, is going into the children of Israel being in the second wilderness. Now in the second wilderness, where I've done an in-depth breakdown on that, brothers can check that out through the spirit. It's on the Backup Cold Cuts channel. But you're going to be given the hidden manna, the mysteries and knowledge. You understand? You're going to be given immortality. You're going to be given all of these things that the Heavenly Father has promised to his elect. Now, in the second wilderness, you're also going to have those rebels that are going to have to be purged out. You're going to have order being set in the second wilderness. Captains, over hundreds, over tens, over thousands. You understand? You're going to have officers being established. The ancient judges back on the earth. Men are going to know their lot. Like David knew his lot from the very foundation of the earth on a spiritual level. Let's go to Psalms real fast. Quick precept, right? Now I got a couple little quick precepts written down, but it never goes as planned. It's always a thousand more precepts that get called, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 16, and I'm gonna start at verse 4, right? I'm gonna start at verse 5. The Lord is the portion of mine inheritance and of my cup. Thou maintainest my lot. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. So David knew that every generation and every time his spirit came on the earth, that the lines are falling into him in pleasant places. I mean, his lot will always be the righteous. His lot will always be the anointed. His lot will always be under Yahweh Shem Yahushua salvation. Yeah, I have a goodly heritage. So he knew his lot. He had certain men like Daniel, right? And we don't got to necessarily go into that. When you read the book of Daniel, right, chapter 12, that chapter, certain men that didn't know their lot. So everybody has a different spiritual gift, understanding, and spirit according to the Bible. Now in Zechariah, you're going to have men that'll have to be purged out through their sin, their wickedness, their rebellion, and all of these things are going to happen in the second wilderness. Because everybody's not going to like what Yahweh Shah is going to bring out. And it's hard to think that somebody's going to rebel against the Lord. But brother, you're rebelling against the Lord right now when you're in the spirit, so-called. You're in the truth right now. You're rebelling against his laws. You're trimming your ways for love now. You're making excuses. You're double-minded now. And the Lord has put his spirit upon you to understand his truth and know his name. How much more when the ancient secrets and things are being brought out in the second wilderness? It says, in that day, there shall be a fountain open. That fountain is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding being poured out. Now, I want to do a breakdown. You have something as the early rain and the latter rain. It says, open to the house of David, right, the elect, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, right, the rest of the nation, for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of that land. Because it's a lot of unclean spirits in Israel. Got Amalek running all wild in it. You got a lot of witchcraft, a lot of wicked pastors and ideologies and philosophies in Jerusalem. A lot of men saying that they're Jews. It's a lot of demonic demons in Jerusalem, huh? And the Lord said, I have to purge out all of those things out of the land. And they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of the land. So in prophecy, you're going to have us being beamed down, however long fit through the hand of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, setting up order in the second wilderness. After the wicked is purged out, who are you going to have left? The elect. The men still standing. The men have been set over charge, over cities, nations, countries. You understand? And we're going to get into all of that. And how these men are going to take down the earth. It's not just going to take down one part of this that's remaining and one part of that's remaining. And these men are going to take the whole earth by storm. It says, and I will also, Salakia, and also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of that land. Who are a lot of the unclean prophets? A lot of the men that have philosophies and doctrines in this truth. Whether they so-called believe in this doctrine or whatever they believe in this doctrine, that's for the Lord to rightly divide, man, because he is the word. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, thou art Salakia, thou shalt not live, but thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. Let's read that again slow. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. And his father and his mother that begat him shall thrush him through when he prophesied. Man. Check that out. So men are going to be getting killed in the second wilderness. Did not the Lord say that those that you would not want me to reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me, man? Men are going to be getting slain in the second wilderness and killed. Blood, right? People are going to be traumatized. I mean, when you actually see the Lord, you're not just going to see somebody with red eyes and woolly hair and smiling at you, man, trying to give you a hug and say, long time no see, my son. No, the Lord is going to be killing people, man. He's going to be moving like a militant, man, like a militant king. And you're going to have his soldiers and his men that he sets following suit. Not emotional, right? Not double-minded, not in any other understanding. And the Lord said, my sheep hear my voice, they know me and they follow me, man. So from the time of these men getting purged out in the second wilderness, you're going to have the Lord setting up order. Let's go to the book of Joel. And let's pick that up in the second wilderness. Let's go to the mighty book of Joel through the Spirit. It's the book of Joel, right? Chapter 2, and I'm going to start at 3. It says this, right? I'm going to start at 1 and I'm going to read all the way down. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, meaning sound the alarm. Sound an alarm in my holy mountain, meaning Jerusalem. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and strong, and there and not been ever the like, neither shall there be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. It's the point. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. So when the Lord comes back to destroy the place, the land is going to be like the Garden of Eden before them. Why? Because you have flaming cherubims that were on fire going back and forth when you read the book of Genesis. When you go to that, right? The 3rd chapter, verse 23 all the way down. So it's going to be so much hail, fire, and rain. It's going to be as if the angels and the cherubims were on the earth flaming back and forth. And behind them, a desolate wilderness, and yet nothing shall escape them. So when the Lord destroyed this place and the inhabitants thereof, it says, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses. So going into the Lord's army and the men of the Lord, you want to have everything structured in the army array. Now, if the Lord is in the second wilderness, the Lord isn't just going to be telling you about your sins all day, man. And you're crying and you're pouting and you're feeling sorry for your sins the whole time you're there. What does a king do? Let's go to the book of Luke. Let's see what kings do. Kings set order, man. Kings go to war. Kings kill. How much more the Lord, man? I put the spirit on the earth for all these things to come to pass. Let's go to the book of Luke, right? Chapter 14 and verse 13. Salakia. Bear with me. And it reads, I'm going to start at 31. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he will be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. So the Lord is saying, what king would do this, man? What foolish king would just go to war and not map out or see how he's going to have these things to come to pass, man? Because every ancient king has ancient war tactics. You can read about that in Joshua, read about that in 1 Samuel, and Chronicles, from all of our kings, man. So a king is going to sit down and he's going to strategize how he's going to go to war, how he's going to take flight. You think that the army of the Lord is just going to come in the air and it's just going to be mayhem, man? Now you're going to have certain angels, right? They're going to be set over certain regions. Other angels, they're going to be set over other regions. You're going to have Yahweh, the big fathership through the spirit, right? Everything's going to be in order, right? It says, go down first to consult whether he will be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. So let's go to the book of Micah, right? We're going to go back to Joel. It's the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse number 12. And it reads, it says, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. Where is he going to assemble us? In the second wilderness, right? After he beams us all up and assembles us. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth. I will put them together as the sheep of Bosworth, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. That's when these men are getting set in order for their military ranks to go take down the heathen and take the spoils of the earth. That's the noise they're going to be making. Did not the Lord say in the book, right? I don't want to pull too many precepts, but he shall rejoice in that day, man. That's that great noise, that army array. Those men that understood that they have crowns upon their heads, man. That they're the men of the Lord. It says, the breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gates and are gone out by it. And their king, which is Yahweh, shall pass before them, huh? And the Lord on the head of them. So every army has rank and position. You don't have a soldier doing this and in general just doing that, and everybody's all over the place. So Yahushua is going to pass and lead us into battle, lead us into the spoils to take down the heathen. The Most High is over Yahushua, and the Lord is going to be on the head of him. Now, when these things are divvied out, right? I'm going to get this quick precept. Let's go back to Joel. It says, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and the horsemen shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on top of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. What does battle array mean, man? It means order. Don't let Esau make you think this is going to happen. The men of the Lord is just going to be running like Esau, man. Or like in the movies, where they say charge and then everybody starts running. Everybody's going to have their duty and their position in the second wilderness, man. So if we're going to set in battle array and we're making great noise, and the Lord is going to divvy out everything through the spirit of everyone's positions, you got to have that in order. Now, with that being said, battle array, let's go to it real fast. Look how birds fly, man. Birds fly together. They're not out of order. They don't break rank. You don't see 17 birds over here, 25 birds over there, and 19 birds over there, man. And then when birds are in smaller groups, they fly in a V shape. This is a military war, man. Look at how they're flying. They're flying in order, in unison. Now, these are carnal beasts that don't even have their 7 senses. They have 5. They're beasts. They're fowls of the air. How much more men of the Lord, man? Think of how lions move, whether it be one of a pack, and there's no more than 2 of a pack of lions. The male on the head of them and the woman behind. Look how wolves move, man. They got the strongest wolf in the front, the strongest wolf in the back, and then they will have their families right in the middle, so that the strongest could devour whatever enemy, and the one that's behind could take any threat from behind, man. So these animals even know how to go to war. They know how to protect one another. They know how to move in the wilderness. They know how to survive, man, when you go into this thing, man. And even Esau knows tactics of war. It says the U.S. military has 5 branches. So Esau, this isn't the ancient world on TV where they put on a Viking helmet and they just charge and start fighting. And Esau has the army, the navy. So you got the army, the footmen, man, that go out there with camouflage, with AK-47s. Navy, right? They're on the ships. Air Force. You got the men that are flying with those fighter jets, man. You got the Marines and the Coast Guard that are out there on the sea also. So even Esau has 5 branches of government and different tactics of war. This is as shown in graphic below, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Now it says, what are the 7 branches of the U.S. military? The Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. So Esau even has a damn Space Force, man, in this thing. So it's telling you plain upon table how they move and the spirits that they moving in, right? So even Esau has so-called order when he goes up the war. How do we move in the ancient world with tactics of war? Let's go to it. Because we're reading about how kings move in the scriptures. Let's go to the book of Joshua, chapter 7. It's the book of Joshua, chapter 7, and verse number 2. So before any king would go to war, he would sit down and he would counsel. And then after his counsel, he may send out spies. That's another tactic of war. And all of this is before they besiege. It says, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 7, and verse number 2. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ali, which is besieged, Salaki, beside Beth Haven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ali. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ali. Because why would Joshua send a whole multitude of Israel, 600,000 men, to go up to smite Ali if he could bring up spies that could kind of peep game and see, okay, we need 1,000 men. We need 10,000 men. This is the same thing Yahushua was talking about. This is a real general right here, man. And Joshua knew tactics of war. He knew how to bring companies. He knew how to spy. He knew how to camouflage. He knew how to hide, man. He knew when to attack. And he knew that he needed the Lord on the head of him. It says, and make not all the people to labor thither, but they are but few. So when you go to war in the ancient world, those men even knew, hey, look, man, don't bring everybody. We have to strategize how we're going to take down these cities. So when we're in the second wilderness, you're going to have Yahweh Shah setting up men over this region, setting up men over that region, setting up men over this region, and setting up men over these cities and these towns to take them down and being divvied out, just like in the law. Let's go to the book of Judges, chapter 1, right, in verse number 24. And spies are very important too. Esau even sends spies. He may send his one tank or his one civilian in street clothes with glasses on, getting a martini at the bar, peeping out the situation. You got you got agent provocateurs that come to camp, man, that sit up there with their glasses on, watching the whole matter, bringing back intel. And on the right-hand side, you have what? You have chariots that appear out of nowhere. Don't think these chariots are just coming up for a preview, man, of Babylon. You don't know what the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah and the hand of these angels are doing. Whether they're gathering up intel, right? Whether they come smiting people, destroying people, whether they strengthening up a man, on a fast, it's about to fall out the truth. You don't know what the spirit of the Most High is having they do. What are the angels called? Watchers in the book of Daniel. They're the eyes of the Lord. That's Proverbs, the 15th chapter. So what do spies do? They watch out the land and they bring back the intel and they divvy out certain things. It says, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 24. And when he shewed them the entry into the city, they smote. So like, I'm going to start at 24. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city. And they said unto him, shew us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city, and we will shew thee mercy. So before you would go to war in the ancient world, you would sit down council, and you would divvy out spies to spy out the land, man. Any king knows that. And don't think when the Lord sets everything in order, we're not going to keep the law and the ancient spirit that we have from old, man. It says, and when he shewed them this entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword, but they let go the man and his family. Let's go to Joshua, right? Chapter 8 and verse 3. Get this quick precept before we go back. It's Joshua chapter 8 and verse number 3. It says, so Joshua arose and all the people of war and went up against Ali. And Joshua chose out 30,000, right, mighty men of valor and set them away by night. So as Joshua was divvying out to take down Ali, or AI rather, what does he do? He splits up these men. And as we read the scriptures, and when we go to, I'm going to get this quick precept too in 1 Samuel, it's showing you these things. And he commanded them, saying, behold, ye shall lie in wait against the city. Ain't the angels lying in wait against the city right now, man? Ain't Yahweh Shah on the edge of the seat? Didn't it say he leaped down like a fierce man of war in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, 18 to 15? And we're ready right now, man. Man, most high willing, we're of that number and we get to execute that judgment. Hey, but men are zealous right now. We're lying in wait against the city. Even behind the city, go not very far from the city, but be ye already, man. That's spiritual. These men have to be ready for when Joshua calls. Who's Joshua in the spirit? He's the general. We got to be ready when the Lord calls, man. The men of war. It says, and I and all the people that are with me will approach into the city, and it shall come to pass when they come out against us, at the first we will flee before them, right? An ancient tactic of war, meaning leading them into an ambush. It says, for they will come out after us till we have drawn them from the city, and they will say, they flee before us, as at the first before. We will flee before them. Then ye shall arise from the ambush and seize upon the city. Now, what is an ambush? You never see it coming. That's what an ambush is. Now, I had something pulled up. I'm not sure, where it went. But nevertheless, I'm going to pull something back up. 7 branches of Salakia. So like I had it pulled up through the spirit. It was 7 ancient tactics of war or something like that. But they have this right here: intelligence, leadership, information. But when they was going into the 7 elements of war, right, or something like that, it had the element of surprise, right? That was one of them. And you have to have the element of surprise. They had different tactics of where how you would go to war, how you would move. They would say offense, defense, right? Ambush, element of surprise. Because nobody's going to let you know when they're coming up for war, man. It says, and seize upon the city, but the Lord your God will deliver it unto your hands. Check that out, man. Now let's go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1 and 14. 1 Samuel, chapter 14 and 11. Salaki. Let's go to 1 Samuel, chapter 14 and verse 11. See, these are ancient ways in the scriptures where these men were going to war, man. They sent out spies, they did ambushes, and they also hid. And this is an immortal flesh, man. How much more in immortality? Well, bodies that can't be corrupted, bodies that can do damn near anything, man. They're going to be like angels in that day. This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14 and verse, right, number 10. It says, but if they say unto us, come up unto us, then we will go up. For the Lord have delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us. And both of them discovered themselves into the garrison of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, behold, the Hebrews come forth, right, out of the holes where they had hid themselves. Now I'm getting these ancient accounts because it's going to take place similar way how we're going to go up to war the second time. It's the same spirit. Now, the first time we had to hide ourselves. We had to use these tactics. You know, we could die, we could be bruised, right? We could be overtaken. Hey, the Lord could overthrow us. Hey, but this time, leaving the second wilderness, we're going to be unstoppable, man. We're going to be like angels. We're going to know ancient warfare and tactics. And the Lord said that in the book of Song of Solomon. Let me get that real fast. The Lord said all of these men are going to be experts in war. So the Lord is going to have to tap into your mind. Now, you may be a 45-year-old man that's overweight, just an Israelite. You may be a damn 12-year-old man that's the elect, getting beamed up. And you may be a so-called heavy set, or whatever the case may be. And, but the Lord is going to tap into your mind, or you've never got a so-called training, you've never been a boxer, never did jiu-jitsu and all of these different things. And, but the Lord is going to tap into your spirit, and he's going to make you an expert of war. It's the book of Song of Solomon, the 3rd chapter. It says, behold, his bed, which is Solomon's, 80 valiant are about it. Solomon represents Yahushua, right? His bed is like his resting place, right? It says, of the valiant of Israel. So these are the elect round about Solomon, which is Yahushua. They all hold swords. So we're going to have weapons given to us, man. And these are going to be heavenly weapons. We're not going to go to the so-called white man's armorer and armory and try to find these things, man. And the Lord got an armory. The Lord got weapons of war. And where his battle acts on a physical level, but the Lord is going to have an armory on a spiritual level, man. Right, let me get this quick precept. So like it, bear with me. Armory. Armory. So like it, bear with me. This quick precept, bear with me. Right? So like you pulling so many precepts. I want to link all these up through the spirit. Let me get this in Jeremiah real fast. It's the book of Jeremiah, right? Start at 50 and verse 25, right? And it reads, the Lord have opened his armory. So when it says in Song of Solomon, right, that they all hold swords, that's physical, man. We're going to be physically apt to go to war, physically apt with the Lord's armory, man. And the men of the Lord in the ancient world, they had gold swords, man. When you read 2nd Maccabees, the 15th chapter. But these are going to be heavenly weapons. These are going to be things that aren't going to be able to be pierced, destroyed, bent, right? You have gold, right? You may have silver, you may have brass, and you have iron, and it gets stronger and stronger. It says the Lord have opened his armory and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord, God of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Right? And that's twofold. Because the Lord has an armory where he has instruments to destroy of World War III and destruction, and an armory of weapons of the angels shooting down lasers and missiles. And the Lord is a man of war. So don't think that you're not going to be out with the most strongest of things to take down the enemy. It says being experts in war. So the men of the Lord in that day, they're going to be experts. I mean, David was hopping over walls and things, man. You had Benaniah and the men of the Lord slaying lions, David slaying a lion and a bear. And these were mortal men in a mortal body, man. How much more when we have the spiritual power and the Lord is dealing with us? Every man have his sword upon his thigh because of the fear of the night. So check that out. So when you're going into this thing, how these men were going to war in the ancient world and the different tactics they had, you see with them, war wasn't fast. You didn't make a decision. You know, now you just get off the bus when you in high school and you just go fight somebody, man. You hot-headed. Or somebody was mugging you in the store. As soon as you go outside, you start fighting. You get stabbed to death, man. You get shot because you're not thinking these things through. A war was like chess, man, in the ancient world. Okay, I have to make my best move, my next move. I have to think and move 3 steps ahead, man. And the Lord has this whole thing staged out. The Lord is like the director on a spiritual level. He has written the script. He knows who the bad guy is, knows who the good guy is, knows when the climax is taking place. And he's setting everybody in their cast, man. Let's go to the book, right? Of, man, I got, let's go to the book of 1 Samuel 15. I'm going to get a couple more on the ancients of war, and we're going to dive into it on a spiritual level. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel. So in the ancient world, what would happen in war? It's the same spirit. So you would what? You would send out spies, you would spy out the land, recover intel, bring it back to your kings, right? Your governors, your leaders, your generals. They would despise out certain men, right? And they would divvy them out to the land, whether it be 3,000 that you need fit, or whether it be 10,000 that you need fit. Same spirit Yahweh was talking about. And then what would they do? They would take it down through force and ravish it. And then what would they do with the king? Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel 15:3. Go, Salakia, now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they had. That's talking about the whole nation. And spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, oxen and sheep, camel and asses. So what did the Lord want them to do, man? Utterly destroy Amalek off the face of the earth. It says this, and Saul gathered the people together and numbered them and telling them 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. Check that out. He laid wait in the valley. The same thing Joshua did. So laying wait, getting ready for war is everything. Now, with this being said, let's jump to verse 32. So after he took down Amalek, what do you do with the king? You let the king get away? No, the king is like a prize, man. Did not the Lord reserve the kings of the earth for us to put our foot on a neck, man? Did not the Lord reserve the kings of the earth to be put in chains and bound for the remnant of the slaves? Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15 and 32. I'm going to start it on, It says, then said Samuel, bring you hither me Agag, the king of the Amalekites, man. So why did they save the kings? Because every war you save the king, man. You have to. Because you bring them hither and they're either going to be a slave or you're going to kill them and behead them. And that's the spoils, man. That's a part of the spoils. So the same way when the Lord, through the hand of the Lord, send out the remnant of the mighty men, the elect, to take down these nations. We're going to drag out from all of these clefts, these rocks, these caves, right? These underground bunkers, all of these different kings. And we're going to bring them hither the same way that we did in the ancient world. Because the Lord's going to tap into our mind and put the law in our mind. You know what the law does? It teaches you order. The law teaches you everything about war, man. This law isn't just about a menorah and shewbread and parting the Red Sea, man. It gets deeper than that. Because war is in the law, man. It says, and Agag came unto him delicately. And that's how these kings are going to do. They're going to bow before us. They're going to send us gifts. You read about these in the scriptures. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. Right? He's trying to sworm his way out of this thing, man. He's trying to make amends and bow down. And surely all of the blood killing is finished with. And Samuel said, as thy sword have made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal, man. Who gave the charge to do that? Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua. Samuel didn't give the charge. Nobody could do anything of their own, man. Who gave the charge that take this king, grab him up, and hang him in pieces, man? Samuel did. Because he wasn't supposed to be breathing in the first place. Who is he? He's an Edomite, man. What do you do to these kings? You reserve them to be destroyed. Let's go to the book, right? Joshua chapter 10 and verse 32. It's like it, verse 24, right? It's Joshua chapter 10, verse number 24. Salaki, is this what I want? It's Judges. Salaki, bear with me. It's Judges chapter, Salaki, Joshua chapter 10, verse 24, and it reads. It says, and it came to pass when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, because they were reserved. Why were they reserved? That's read it in prophecy. Why these kings of the earth are reserved, even in the law, even in prophecy. Let's go to the classic. Go to the book of Psalms, chapter 149, and verse number 5. It says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of Yahweh be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. That's the same sword that Solomon was talking about with Song of Solomon, the 3rd chapter. That weaponry that's going to be in our hands to execute judgment. The same sword that was in Samuel's hand, man, that had these kings in pieces to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people, to bound their kings with chains, with their kings, their nobles, and their nobles with fetters of iron. Because yeah, we're gonna have, slaves, but it's not gonna be damn what's his name? Billy, man. At your local corner store. That's the manager. It's not gonna be Brad, man, that you work with. That's always hounding you about being late to work. It's not gonna be all of these different Edomites that you see jogging, man, with their expensive Apple headpieces on, man, making phone calls and their Apple watches, and they're running with their dogs. Those low-level Edomites are going to be destroyed. You're going to have the kings that are reserved, just like in the ancient world. It says that Joshua called for all the men of Israel and said unto the captains of the men of war. Who are the captains? The elite out of the army. So you're going to have Israel, and then you're going to have the elect that are going to what? Execute these judgments. Which went with him, come near and put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. So in the ancient world, you reserved the kings, you spied out lands, you had different tactics of war, you took the kings, you put your feet on their neck, you hung them, you killed them, you hacked them in pieces, and you destroyed them, man. And they were reserved, right? Let me get, I'm gonna stop right there. Let's go to the book. Let's go back to Joel through the Spirit, so I can pick up where I left off. Let's go to the book of Joel. It's the book of Joel, chapter 2, and verse. I'm gonna start at 6. says, before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. So every man, when they see the men of the Lord, and when they see the executing of judgments, their face is going to be blackness, man. They're going to be scared. They're going to be upset. They're going to be pain. And when actually these things come to pass, man, it's going to be like the ancient world. What happened in Joshua when they heard that the children of Israel was coming through? Everybody's hearts failed them for fear. That same fear is coming back on the earth. You're not just going to be looked at as a nigga, man. It says, and it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was there spirit in them anymore because of the children of Israel. So who are these men? These are kings, man. These kings, these Canaan, these Africans, these ancient Africans, when they heard that the children of Israel was coming through, their hearts were pained. Because they know that this is the same God that destroyed the Egyptians. This is the same God that would destroy you, man. It had the ancient flood to happen, man. It's the same God that split up the earth and have everybody to have different tongues. This is going to be the same God that executes judgment upon the earth again, man. And they know that. And their heart melted within themselves. So when these different nations and these men, they see these things, they're going to be much pain. So leaving the second wilderness, the Lord's going to divvy up and split up everybody. Now, in splitting up everybody, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, right? Because all this goes back to the law, chapter 20 and verse 10. And it reads, matter of fact, let me get the first chapter, and then I'm going to jump to verse 10, chapter 10. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 15. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over fifties, and captains over tens, and officers among your tribes. And I charge your judges at that time, saying, hear the cause between the brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the strangers that is within them. So in the wilderness was what? It was judgment. It was order. It was the men being set up. The second wilderness is going to be the same thing all over again. Deuteronomy chapter 20 and verse number 10. Let me get this quick precept. And it reads, when thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And we tried to have peace on this earth, man. We tried to have the government set up, man, in righteousness for it to flourish. What did these heathens do? They fought against our kings. They rebelled against our laws, right? It was burdensome for them, right, to behold our faces, man. They called us pestilent people, and they hated our guts, man. And they didn't want nothing to do with us. Why? Because they're heathens, and it's not in their spirit, right, to behold these things, right? I wanted to get this quick precept, right, in the book of Esther. Yeah, I'm gonna get this quick precept. Right, it says, Salaki Bell, let me pull it up on here. I might have to go back. Salaki Bell. So, like, I'm gonna come back to that precept. I'm not sure why it's not working. But going back to it, I'm gonna go back to Deuteronomy. It says, "When thou comest nigh into a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein should be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee." So essentially, this whole earth is supposed to be serving us, man. And under peace in the kingdom, nobody's going to come up to war and fight against us. It's going to be how we're supposed to be in the law. We're supposed to come to a city, and we're supposed to proclaim peace unto it. If they don't want peace, they want to fight, they want to buck up, they don't want to listen, then we will have to take them down, man, and kill them. That's going to be the same spirit in the kingdom. These different nations, right, we're going to have as what? Tributaries and servants. And there's not going to be any war and any fighting in the kingdom. And if it may be, Salakia, and if it will make no peace with thee, which America doesn't, which these different kingdoms don't, but will make war against them, thee, then thou shalt besiege it. So the Lord said, get ready for war, man, in the law. You shall besiege these men. These men don't want to listen. They want to buck up. They want to do God knows what. Then besiege the town. Take the city. It says, and when the Lord thy God have delivered it into thy hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But the women and the little ones, and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thy enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. It says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee. What does that mean? Meaning each city, it don't even have to be the land of Canaan, man. This same law that's in Deuteronomy, we're going to take that in the second wilderness in our minds, and we're going to take the whole world by storm, man. Every city, every country, every isle, we're going to grab up the heathen, and we're going to make them tributaries and servants unto us, because they belong unto us. It says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations. So not only the ancient Canaanites and the 7 nations, but we're also going to take down the whole earth. It says, but of the cities of the people, of these people, which the Lord thy God doeth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. Right? Check that out. So let's go to the book of Numbers, right? Chapter 31 and verse 9. So as we're divvying out through the Spirit, going throughout these diverse places where these heathens, we're going to take them from their underground bunkers and clefts of the rocks and wherever they're going to be hiding at, and we're going to drag them up. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 31. And it reads, I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, and the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives and their little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods. So we're going to rob them, man. That's in Ezekiel, man. The 39th chapter, verse 39 and verse 10. 39 and 9 all the way down, man. 10 and 11. So we're going to spoil their goods, take their women and their spoil. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles, right, with fire. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. And they brought the captives, meaning what? The men that they took down. So like the women that they took down and everything, because they killed the men. And the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priest. So Moses the head, he's the king. So we're going to bring all of our treasures, all of our chief things, we're going to bring them back to our king. Because Moses was the king. We read about that in Deuteronomy 33 and 4, all the way down. Right? Moses was the king. So it says, and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. So as the elect goes out, takes down these heathens and grabs up the spoil, what are we going to do with the spoil? We're going to divvy out all of the spoil and all of the lands by lot. So it's not going to be any confusion on land. You know, somebody's not going to say, I want the ancient land of this. No, I want the ancient land of that. No, we're going to divvy them out the same way we did in the ancient world according to the law. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 26. How do we receive land and get land in the ancient world? Through war. Because we take down the heathen, and then we take their land and their inheritance. The same way we're going to do again. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 26 and verse number 2. It says, take the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, meaning number them all up, from 20 years old and upward, throughout their father's house, and all that are able to go to war in Israel. So you have to be 20 years old to be able to go up for war. Now, going up for war, numbering all of these men, let's jump down to verse 51. It says this. These were the number of the Salaki. 51, and it reads, it says, these were the number of the children of Israel, 600,000 and 8,730. So these were all of the men 20 years old that were up to get ready for war. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, unto these the land shall be divided for an inheritance, according to the number of the names. So like a number of names. So you would divide the land into an inheritance. He will have this inheritance. He will have this inheritance. He will have this inheritance. So when you take down the spoils, amen, the Lord is going to set up men over 10 cities, man. Now, how are you going to be set up over 10 cities? You're going to have the pleasure not only of having that city, but you're going to have the pleasure of destroying the heathen in it. And a lot of men, if not all men watching this, have never killed anybody, man. But the Lord going to put that spirit in you and tap down in your mind to know how to fight, to know how to take down the heathen. To stir up that old ancient spirit that's in you, man. Take off that suit, take off that bow tie and that damn tie, man. Take off your Stacy Adams shoes, your cufflinks, right? Throw your work binder out the window and pick up an axe. Pick up a sword, man. Pick up these ancient weapons, man. These two-edged swords, and know how to chop people's heads off, break bones, and kill men in 1,000 ways. And you got certain men that are experts in killing. They know pressure points. They could kill you with a snap. They could kill you with their pinky, man. They know different holes and different places and different soft spots to kill you in that, man. It says, too many thou shalt give the more inheritance, and to few thou shalt give the less inheritance. To every one shall his inheritance be given according to those that are numbered of him. So who gets the inheritance in the law? The men that go to war. Everybody don't get it. The elected are elect get it. The men that actually put the work in, that fought. Who are going to fight? The elect are going to fight. The army's going to fight. Therefore, that army of the Lord in the second wilderness are going to be the only ones over those lands. So when you go to the book, let's go to it real fast. When the Lord was talking about that in the book of Luke, let's go to the book of Luke. So when it says, oh, you're going to be set over 10 cities, and I mean, you can't just read that and just think just because you keep the commandments, that's going to happen to you. You got to be ordained in the elect and in the army of the Lord to reap these spoils of these cities that are going to be divvied out as an inheritance when you take them down, right? Let's go to the book of Luke chapter 19 and verse 17. And it reads, I'm going to link that back up with the law. It says, and he said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant, Salaki, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little. Have thou authority over 10 cities. Now, first of all, you got to destroy those men that are in those cities. It's not just going to be fairy tale land, man. In the kingdom of heaven, things just start growing up like the movie, like Noah the movie, and birds start singing and flapping, and nations, they already got the Jeffrey jumpsuit on, man, from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And they got the platter, and they're just serving you like this. They already come dressed. Everything's just already in order. And you just snap your fingers like you wake up from a dream, man. You got to establish this through hard work. And it feels good when you do this, man. And the Lord said in the book, let me get this quick precept, in the book of Galatians, the 6th chapter, 6 and 4. Let me get this quick precept. It's Galatians chapter 6 and verse number 4. It says, but let every man prove his own work. Every work you do, you have to prove it. You have to put in work. It says, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. So everybody has to prove and put their own work in to receive their reward, man. And that work isn't just on one level as far as keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Because if that's the case, then there would be no 1/3 and no elect within the elect. It says, let me read that again. It says, well done, thou good servant. Because thou hast been faithful in very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. Right? Check that out. And the second came, saying, Lord, thy pound have gained 5 pounds. And he said, likewise unto him, be thou over 5 cities. So the amount of work you put in on a spiritual level, to the amount of spoils by a lot divvied out, all of these things are going to be given to the elect, man. Right? I'm not going to read this whole parable. It's a mean parable. Nevertheless, verse 55, right? It says, notwithstanding, the land shall be divided by lot according to the names of the tribes of their fathers shall they inherit it. So they're going to be inherited, by lot. According to the lot shall the possession thereof be divided between many and few. So not only did this happen, right, in the time of Moses, but it also happened in the time of Joshua when we took down those ancient Canaanites. Let's go to the book of Joshua, the 14th chapter. How did Judah get his land and Ephraim get this and these different, tribes get these different portions? Through lots being cast. It says, and these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for an inheritance to them. So the heads of the nation, they distributed the inheritance of all of those different countries where they dwelt in. And who's going to be our king? Who's going to be over us to distribute and give us all of these different lands? Yahweh Shah, man. Hey, don't just think when we come down that we're just going to say charge and then everybody just starts running and escaping the earth and flying around. And this isn't Goku, man. And in these different cartoons, everything's going to be on order. It says, by lot was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe. And Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes. Or we could rush right there. But the point of the matter is what? You had different tribes, right? Different men that had different lots by the head over them, giving them those lands. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, right? Chapter 12. So as we go to war, we're not going to be able to fall. Let's go to Zechariah, right? Chapter 12 and verse number 7. Let's start at 8. And it reads, in that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. What do the angels do? They have spiritual powers. The angels could fly. The angels could disappear. And the angels could smite you with blindness. You can't stab an angel. You can't thrust an angel through it and chop an angel's head off, man. They're indestructible. They're perfect. They're undefiled and they're on fire. And they're warriors. They're the messengers of Yahweh. They're Yahweh's hosts, man. So with that being said, what happened? What did the angels do in the ancient world when we went to war? They were fighting along with us, man. Let's get that in 2 Maccabees, the 10th chapter, verse 29 all the way down, man. Because when Judas Maccabees went to war, yeah, he went to war. Yeah, he destroyed the heathen. Yeah, he was mighty. He was strong on a physical level. But what was his true weapon, man? It wasn't the hammer. It wasn't the axe. What was his? It was the angels and Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, man. So when you go to the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 10 and verse 29, it says, but when the battle waxed strong, and we're going to wax strong against these heathen. Don't think they're not going to fight back, man. There appeared unto the enemies, so like unto the enemies from heaven, 5 comely men upon horses, with bridles of gold, and 2 of them led the Jews, man. So you're going to have angels that's fighting round about us. Angels are always going to be above our heads. That's not just in this life. That's even going to be in the kingdom. That's in Isaiah, the 4th chapter, that they're going to be angels above our habitations for the rest of our lives. What are they doing? They're watching over us. Even though we're not going to die in the kingdom, even though the enemies aren't going to raise up and destroy us in the kingdom, but for the sake of war and order and a promise that the Heavenly Father gave us for protection is written and it's going to be there. It's the book of Isaiah 4 and 5. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion that's in the kingdom. So even after we take down these heathens and they build up the kingdom of heaven with all of the different stones in the different places, we're going to have different angels and chariots flying above our heads. And upon their assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and a shining of flame and fire by night, for upon all the glory should be a defense. So we're going to have a defense. We're going to always have war and warriors and a host round about us. Going back to the book at Second Maccabees, it says, and took Maccabeus betwixt them. So these different angels, when Maccabeus went to war, what did he do? He was guarded by angels. Now these angels, they were invisible, man. Now imagine if you're going to war and you got invisible angels boxing you in every single way you go. So yeah, Judas Maccabeus, he was strong, he was mighty, he was powerful, he knew the law, he was expert in judgment, he had strength and understanding, and the Lord was with him, and he had ever sure confidence. But what did the Lord protect? He put a hedge around him, man, like Job. Hey, a lot of us have hedges around us. We've never been in a serious car accident. We've never been killed, right? People tried to destroy us and kill us and all type of accounts in the world, but the angels was with us, man. It says, and took Maccabeus betwixt them and covered him on every side with their weapons and kept him safe. So the angels have weapons. The angels have an armory. I mean, imagine if an angel manifested himself, man. Because in the books, Salaki, let me get this quick precept. I don't want to quote everything. For the sake of time, I'm gonna just read it out of here in case I can't pull it up on there. It's the book of the history of Susanna, verse 59. Then said Daniel unto him, well, thou hast also lied against thy own head, for the angel of God waiteth with the sword to cut thee in two, that he may destroy thee. And that's in the book of Numbers too, man. And these men seen an angel with a sword drawn. So these angels, they have weapons with them. It says, but shot arrows and lightnings against the enemies. So these angels, they got weapons, swords, lightnings, bolts, all of these different things. As Judas Maccabeus and the men of the Lord, they went to war. So who could come up against Judas Maccabeus, man? Who could stop the army of the Lord? This on a physical level. This is when we were having the enemies over us, the Greek Empire. How much more when we actually do go to war under Yahweh Shem Yahushua as our head, and there's no more enemy or rulership of the so-called white man. Russia's cast down. You understand? America's cast down. The Greeks cast down. The Roman Empire cast down. All of these ancient Idolians, right? And ancient men of Taman, they're destroyed. It says, so that being confounded with blindness. So when they went to war in the ancient world, what did the angels do to the Edomites? They confounded them with blindness. Imagine trying to fight and you're blind, man. You're in war. You're yelling and screaming, the swords clinging, and you can't find the person. You're feeling armor, and out of nowhere, your head gets sliced off. So I could see how David was running through a host, man. These things are written now, like, oh, how did David do it? This can't be possible. How did he leap over a wall? The angel guided him over a wall, man. How did he kill hundreds of people in battle? Because the angels were blinding men. They were destroying men. They were casting them down. So the angels fight with us. That's even in the scriptures in the ancient world. How much more when we become like these angels? When we become like Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? To not be able to die. It's not even written what we're going to actually be able to do, man. All it says is that we're going to be like the angels. And we're reading about what the angels do in war. They blind people. They have weapons and shoot out arrows and lightnings. They can fly. Hey, these angels, they can do anything, man, that the Heavenly Father is giving their spirit able to do. It says, and there were slain of footmen 20,000 and 500 and 600 horsemen. Check that out. So when the Lord get down, with destruction and war, and the Lord gets down with destruction and war. Let's go back to the book. I want to get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of John. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 18. It's the book of John, chapter 18, and I'm going to start at 36. And it reads, it says, Yahushua answered, my kingdom is not of this world. Right? You have your kingdom right now. The so-called white man has the Roman Empire. He has all of his treacheries, right? His governors. He has his Caesars. He has his rulers. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight. Hey, that's plain, man. Because when the kingdom gets established on the earth and rulerships are cast down, like you read about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, and Yahushua rises up, is that lion in that thicket is going down. That I should not be delivered unto the Jews, but now my kingdom is not from hence. So when the kingdom get established, and the Lord said his servants, they're going to fight, bro. And that fight and that war is going to be with the two-edged sword, and it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be reckoned with for the heathen to ever come up against us or win. Let's go to the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 11, and verse number 7. Right? Going along, like the Lord said, we're going to be like the angels in that day. And then I want to go back to the book of Joel, because I wanted to touch on those things. Right? We never even read only at verse 6. It's the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 11, and verse number 7. Then Maccabeus himself, first of all, took weapons, exhortating the other that they would jeopardize themselves together with him to help their brethren. So they went forth together with a willing mind. And all of this is through faith. It says, and as they were at Jerusalem, there appeared before them on horseback one in white clothing, shaking his armor of gold. That's a helper from heaven, an angel. And they praised the merciful God altogether and took heart in so much that they were ready not only to fight with men, but with most cruel beasts, and to pierce through walls of iron. So in the ancient world, man, they said, look, when Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is with us through the hand of the angels in war, we're not only ready to fight against men, but we're ready to fight against beasts, lions, tigers, leopards, bears, crocodiles, serpents, and to pierce through walls of iron, man. That's our mindset of our forefather. In a mortal body, not even having the spiritual power through the hand of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, take it down to heathen on the head of Yahushua. Now imagine how hyped you would be if David was fighting with you. Like ancient David, like the anointed. He's on a horse. He's riding. Then he look over to you. And he gave you the nod. And then he throw you the sword. And you on another horse. You're in battle. You look at David. You catch the sword in your hand. And you slice up the heathen in one stroke, man. How on fire would you be if Jeremiah came out of nowhere and said, you ready to do the work of the Lord? I mean, brother, spirits will be on fire with zeal, man. What if Elijah looked at you in your eyes and said, are you ready to prophesy until this kingdom is over? I mean, brothers will lose their mind, man. But on top of all of that, imagine if Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Yahushua the righteous, is on the head of you in war, man. You know how on fire you would be? And a lot of kids, when their mother or their father is in a room and the lights are out, they don't feel no harm because their mother's there. They don't feel no type of thing for nobody, no burglars to get them. They don't feel like no demons is in the room. They feel comfort and protection because they have what? Their mother. A lot of women feel like that way with their husbands. I'm out with my husband. I'll be all right. I'll be safe. I'll be okay. Because they feel that comfort and that protection, that leader behind them. And how would a men of the Lord go be jacked up and so on fire when we got Yahweh? So like we got Yahweh Shem Yahushua on the head of us, man. It says, thus they march forward in their armor, having an helper from heaven, for the Lord was merciful unto them. So in the ancient world, it was the angels that fought with us. Hey, but this time it's going to be Yahushua himself. Let's go to the book. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go back to Joel. Right, Joel chapter 2 and verse number 7. It says, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. and they shall march every one in his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. And we know that the ranks, we just went to the law. You're going to have everybody in their different rank marching to wherever Yahushua has set those men up to do. Because you're going to have, let's go to Matthew chapter 19. You're going to have the 12 tribes. So like you're going to have the 12 disciples judging the 12 tribes of Israel. That don't mean that they're going to be judging them like they went off, but they're going to come up before the 12. Because everything is what? It's his judgment, man. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 19, right? In verse 28. And Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye shall sit upon the thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So every matter that comes up in the kingdom, you're not going to be able to just find Yahushua and come to him. You're going to have a ranking position that you come to. A child has something, and they may bring it to the mother. Too high for the mother, they may bring it to the father. Too high for the father may bring it to the priest. Too high for the priest, and the father may bring it to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The same way in the kingdom. You gotta have men over these cities, and if things may arise, not that it's going to be all for trouble, but just advice, counsel, divvying out matters, expansions, or whatever the case may come up in the kingdom that are too high for us to know. We have to bring it to these men, whether it be men over top of us, till it gets to the 12 tribes. It's like till it gets to the 12 disciples. Those men are going to be sitting, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, meaning keeping the whole nation in order. It says, and every one that hath forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive an hundredfold and shall inherit everlasting life. Man. That's plain. It says, neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. So you're going to be able to go up a war and not be wounded. Let's go to Philippians, right? Go to the book of Philippians. Verse chapter 3, and I'm going to start at 21. Who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body? So when our bodies get changed in the second wilderness and we enter into this estate to be like an angel, we're going to have the spirit, of our Heavenly Father, by Hashem Yahushua, the laws in our mind, but we're also going to have a body that's like unto Yahushua. It says, according to the working whereby he is even able to subdue all things unto himself. So the Lord is going to have us to have a body unto himself. So when we're in this thing, and it says, when we shall fall upon the sword, we shall not be wounded, ain't nothing's going to happen to the Lord. It says, they shall run to and fro in the city, and they shall run upon the wall, and they shall climb upon the houses, and they shall enter into the window like a thief. Now, that's not physical houses and physical windows. Now, these are the men of the Lord who understand the elect, hunting down the heathen, ravishing the spoils. Where are these men going to be at? They're going to be in underground bunkers and caves. Let's go to it. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 24th chapter. And what happened before you would bind up the heathen and lock them up? You would set up a garrison. So men in war, they would have their general, they would sit down to discuss, they would bring out spies, they would bring back intel, then they would what? They would go up and spy out the land, wait for the charge. Well, let me get that in Joshua. Because they had to wait for the charge of the king before they even went to war. Yeah, they hid certain things, but it said when Joshua stretched out his hand, that's when they went up for war. And like Gideon. Let me get that quick precept. I believe that's Joshua, the 8th chapter. 8 and 18. Let me get this real fast. It's Joshua chapter 8 and verse 18. And it reads, it says, and the Lord said unto Joshua, stretch out thy spear that is in thy hand toward Ali, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward Ali. And the ambush arose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand. So these men are waiting for the charge of the king to stretch the hand out. And they entered into the city and took it and hasted it and set the city on fire. Jumping down to verse 26. For Joshua drew not his sword back, wherewith he stretched it out. It's like he stretched out the spear until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ali. So these men are going to be what? They're going to be hiding in caves. The Lord tells you that in the book of Revelation, right? The 6th chapter. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves. This is in the 6th seal, man. Not only do you have the 6th seal, you're going to have what? The 7th seal, and then you're going to have all of the 7 trumpets. So these men are going to be down in these underground bunkers this whole time in World War III. There's going to be bombs on the earth, pestilence, wild beasts, men crying, death, famine, turmoil, confusion, and all manner of lies, man, and treachery, man. And these men are going to be safe for the time being under these underground bunkers from the 6th seal all the way to the 7th trumpet when the Lord comes back. And the dens and the rocks and the mountains, and said unto the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. What is that talking about? Meaning they already know when World War III kick off, the elites, because they already deal with witchcraft, sorcerers, witches, warlocks. They already know about Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. He even got his name on the Indiana Jones thing, man. A lot of these ancient things and these ancient tables of stone and the shields, the menorahs, the ancient swords with Yahweh Shem Yahushua name engraved in them. Who do you think has all of these things? They didn't disappear. Edomites have them in museums and in dark rooms and caves in the earth. So they know about the Lord. They know about his son. They know about the Israelites. They know about this history. So they're going to already know what time it is when these things start to kick off. You already see the children of Israel waking up. It says, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. So from dragging them up, right? Let's go to it. Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. As we're running to and fro in these cities, we're running to discover and take down the heathen that are hiding. It says, enter into the rock and hide thee in the dust for the fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty. So this is like the mind state of what the Lord is telling Esau to do, man. Hey, enter into your rock, hide yourself, because destruction is coming, and the Lord is going to destroy you. It's Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 20. I'm going to start at 21. It says, it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they should be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So when a minute or more divvy out and take down their allotted lands and take down the heathens, we're going to have to take these heathens and put them in a pit. So for example, you may have 12 heathens or 100 heathens on this region or 1,000 heathens on this region. You're going to have to be able to bound them up while you're taking down the rest of the heathens. Right? You may have a guard dog when you go to hunt. Right? You may round them up, the guard dog, and round up whatever prey you have. And then you have the guard dog to watch them while you go bring back more prey. It says, I'm going to read that again. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and they shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So what's going to be happening down there, man? They're going to be hungry. They're going to be yelling, screaming. It's going to be like a slave ship. It's going to be piss down there, urine, feces, right? Throw up. And the Lord said, after many days, you're going to visit these heathens after being down in the pit, a dark pit with no food. So they're going to be stinky. You got to picture this thing, man. When you read this, You can't just, oh yeah, we're gonna get the heathens. We're gonna grab them up, throw them down there, wrap them up. No, all this is gonna take place. Then from these pits, we're gonna have to have slave ships to take these heathens from these different diverse places and ship them right to wherever we're gonna have slave trades and bring them to the kingdom. Right? That's Isaiah the 60th chapter. So when you linking up these precepts or linking up prophecy, you want to make sure that it's in order. And you know, okay, this prophecy may be in this seal, but how does it line up in this seal? Or it may be in this time frame, the time of the second wilderness, the time right after the second wilderness, the time in the kingdom. But even in the kingdom, even in the second wilderness, even in this time, you're going to have a plethora of precepts and prophecy correlating that has to be in order with those other things also. Right? But let me get this quick precept in the book of First Chronicles. Right? First Chronicles chapter 18. And it reads, quick precept. It's verse 2. And he smote Moab, and Moab's, like the Moabites, became David's servants and brought gifts. And David smote, right, Hadazer, the king of Zobah, and Hamath, as he went to establish his dominion by the river of Euphrates. So what did David do? He smote these people, but before he did, he put up garrisons. Now, according to the law, you have to come to this city and what? Proclaim peace into it. And in that peace, they're supposed to be naturally your servants and coming to you and serve you. But you know that strength and dominion and pride of Edom and these different Syrians and Moabites and Canaanites, they're not going to do that. You have to take them down by violence and force. So what did David do? He had to build garrisons to block these men in and build up places so that they couldn't get out, to forge their cities and take them down. So that when they're boxed in, he could create pits, cages for these different beasts, man. Now, let me get that quick precept. All right, it's the book of First Chronicles, chapter 18, and I'm going to start at 13. And he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. Thus the Lord preserved David wheresoever he went, man. So he put garrisons in there. Now, according to, let's go to First Kings, the 9th chapter. This is how it's supposed to go down. I believe around verse 20. Right. It says, and all the people that were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel, their children that were left after them in the land, who the children of Israel were not able to destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute, a bondservant unto this day. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servant and his princes and his captains and rulers of his chariot and his horsemen. So check that out. So the bondmen and the levy and the tribute are supposed to be the men that are left in the land. So whatever men that are getting gathered up, they're supposed to be bond servants and tributaries, man. They're supposed to serve us. And after many days, right, like it says in the scriptures, they're going to be visited. And when they're visited, they're going to be brought to Jerusalem. You're going to see the forces of the Gentiles. All right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60. Right, and it reads. I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together. They come to see. It's like it. They come to thee. Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because of the abundance of the sea shall be covered unto thee, for the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. So the Lord said the whole abundance of the sea is going to be what? It's going to be filled with the forces of the Gentiles. Does that mean they're going to be all swimming? They don't got no good picture of 1,000 ships of all the different forces. Hey, but men are going to be gathered up. You're going to have the forces of the Gentiles on these ships, man. You can read about that in Joel. Let me get this quick precept in Joel. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Joel, chapter 2. And let's start at Salaki. Is it 2? It's 3. Salaki, bear with me. Joel chapter 3. And I'm gonna start at verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of their place, whether ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. Meaning the same thing you did to us, we're going to do unto you. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken. And that's not talking about the ancient Africans or the ancient Arabians when it says the Sabians. It's not talking about that. The Sabians will be the Israelites. How do you know that? Because you go to the book of Psalms, right? Let's go to it. All of these different diverse places where we were sold, we take on their names. We're called Sabians. We're called Greeks, right? We're called Americans. We're called all these different places. Now, this is Psalm chapter 87 and 4. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistine and Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there. So we were born in Tyre, we were born in Philistia, we were born in Ethiopia. So we're going to be called a Tyrian. We're going to be called Ethiopian. We're going to be called a Philistine. And of Zion, it should be said, this and that man was born in her. So you're going to have men that are going to be born in that region, in this region, and all over the place. And the highest himself shall establish her. Check this out. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people. What does it mean he shall count? It means he shall count up the elect. The Lord is numbering the men of the Lord in these diverse places. Yeah, they're going to be men of Savior. Going to be men over here, men over there. And the elect is not just in Babylon. It says, the Lord shall count when he writeth up the people. Writeth up meaning what? Sealeth them in the book of life and count them the elect. That this man was born there. Check that out. And where is there? All of these different places. Being called all of these different names. So when you go back to Joel, when it says they're going to sell them to a people far off, you're going to have men in different, it's like, I won't call it states, but different land masses that you're going to be selling these damn heathens to, man. On ships. The same way. Go back to Joel. This is Joel chapter 2 and verse 10. The earth shall quake before them. Check that out. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So the earth is going to quake before the men of the Lord, man. You think that you have knowledge now? You think that you're a prophet now? You think that these nations fear us now? You think that we're stronger than Esau now, man? Think about in that day that the whole earth is going to quake when the men of the Lord are rightly set where the Most High has ordained us from the foundation of the earth. And when we go to war, let me get this quick precept at 2nd Chronicles when we go to war. Because we didn't even have to try to fight in war, man. It came natural through the hand of the Lord fighting for us and with us. We never failed when the Lord was with us. This 2nd Chronicles chapter 20 and verse 15. And he said, hearken, ye all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat. Thus saith the Lord unto you, be not afraid nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude. Because you may see Esau, you may have weapons, you're not taking me down, nigger. You may have a damn button of explosions. And, it said that we shall not, Salaki, bear with me, it said he shall not be thrust through. So that means Esau is going to have to fight back. He's going to have his weapons in those caves. He's not just going to be sitting there with a cup of tea, man. God knows what he has down there. RGPs and all nobody knows, man. But none of those things are going to affect us or touch us or destroy us. So the Lord is telling you in the ancient warfare, believe this is Jehoshaphat, right? And the men of the Lord, not to be afraid nor fearful on any matter when you go to war, man. It says, read that again. Salakia. It says, inhabitants of Jerusalem, thou King Jehoshaphat, thus saith the Lord unto you, be not afraid nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but Yahweh's. Tomorrow go ye down against them. Behold, they come up by the cleft of Ziph, and ye shall find them at the end of the brook, before the wilderness of Jeruel. Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. So the Lord said, you don't even need to fight in this battle. You don't need to lift up your arm. You don't need to vex yourself. You don't need to sweat. You don't need to need if you need an axe, a sword, a knife, a damn nunchucks. And the Lord said, you don't even need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord with you. O Judah and Jerusalem, fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. Man. And the Lord says, see the salvation of Yahweh. Meaning, see the strength and the power of how I fight and how I go to war to protect you and guide you in the day. And that's what righteous kings. Let me get the classic real fast. In Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3. The Lord said, the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. So the Lord's a man of war. And in war, the earth is going to quake before us. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and moon shall be dark. And the stars shall withdraw their shine. And that's talking about the wisdom, the spirit, the strength of this world, and the darkness, you understand, of being scared, not having light and shining to be able to know what to do. Because what is light? Light is manyfold. Light can be affliction, it can be burdensome, or light could be a guide. It's not the commandments, a lamp, right? And the law, the light, and the menorah represents Yahweh, the sea. So, I mean, wisdom and knowledge are represented as the sun, the moon, and the stars. It says, and the Lord shall utter his voice before his army. The same thing we read about in Micah, the 2nd chapter. For his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his war. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who could abide? Check that out. Let me get this quick. Let me see if we can pull it up. See if we could even damn get a picture of over 100,000 men, man. See how many people fill up an arena. They said 15,000. It said the following list of arenas by seating capacity, which is the maximum number currently. All arenas with capacity of 15,000 or more. And that's low level, man. We're talking about 144,000 men. And look at all of these people in the stadium. Let me see if I could zoom in a little bit. So I can bear with me. Imagine all of these are warriors, men of the Lord, man. They all got swords in their hand. They're all ancients. They're all ready for war. And we've been dreaming about this day since the time we came on the earth. We've been thinking about this since the time we came into the truth. To actually have this day set before us is going to be like we've been working and this is our increase in reward, man. Look at all of these people in this stadium. Now maybe what, 15,000, 20,000 people? I'm trying to like visualize this thing, man. Leaving the wilderness, how we're going to be set up in our, and this is only 15,000. It's not even 144,000. So when the Lord said his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Because the day of the Lord is manyfold. You have destruction, you understand, of the Lord himself, leaping upon these different kingdoms, destroying them. You're going to have destruction via the angels. And the Lord, he's going to armor up, man. You read about that in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. The Lord's going to have his armor on. Yeah, he's going to have a robe on, but it's spiritual. Let's go to it. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. And I'm going to start at 18. I'm going to start at 17. Right? And it reads, he shall take to him his jealousy for a complete armor. So the Lord said, here he's coming back in armor array, but his army equipment isn't carnal. You know, so-called white man, he armors up, he has a helmet on, and the Lord is not going to get thrust through. He doesn't need a helmet. He doesn't need a physical gauntlet. He doesn't need a breastplate physically. He doesn't need these things and shin guards. He don't need that, man. He's Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, the righteous. It says he shall take to him jealousy for complete armor. Meaning as the Lord is getting ready for war, he's taking on these different spirits, right, as attributes as he's gearing up for war, man. Imagine if somebody robbed you. He said, all right, I'm taking jealousy for a complete armor, man. Of all that you did, the jealousy of how Babylon has tricked, arrayed, lured, seduced the children of Israel, the servants, all the blood that they had, that you read about in the book of Revelation, the 16th chapter, verse 5, all the way down. And make the creature his weapon. Who is the creature? We're the creature, man. We're going to be his weapon. So, yeah, you see all of these movies like Thor. Let me see real fast. Like Thor uses a so-called hammer as his weapon, right? And Thor has his weapon. And that's how he destroys things, through his weapon, his hammer. This is what he does. And he gets down and he starts to destroy people, so-called, in the TV shows or the movie or whatever the case may be. That's his weapon. And what's going to be Yahweh Bashim Yahushua's weapon? The elect, man. He's going to move your spirit and raise you up. He's going to use you as a damn weapon, man. When you get into this thing, and you know the anger of the Lord, man. Think about how unstoppable you're going to be. It says, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. So all the revenging that you've ever read about in the scriptures, all of the destruction, making the heathen drink their own blood, like you read about in Isaiah chapter 49 of destruction and blood and vengeance and all of these different things. Who's going to be executing that, man? The men of the Lord, his army. And he shall put on righteousness as a breastplate and true judgment instead of an helmet. So Esau is going to be carnally geared up, but Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to be spiritually geared up. He shall take holiness for an invincible shield. His servant's wrath shall be sharp for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. So who's going to fight against the Lord? The world. In World War III, they're going to stop in the midst of battle, like it says in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, and they're going to durst fight. And they're going to be scared. But the Lord is still going to put it in his spirit, in their spirit, to still fight against the Lord, man. And as they're fighting against the Lord, let me read that again. And it served a wrath for a sharp, it's like a sharper for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Check that out. So they're going to fight against the Lord. And the Lord's going to be guarded up in all of these things spiritually. And his voice and his word is going to be a lamp unto fire. And he's going to push forth us to be his battle axe. Right? Let me get this quick precept in Jeremiah. Quick precept. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 20. Right? And it reads, In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the iniquity of Israel. Salaki, this is what I want. 51. Salaki, bro. 51 and 20. And it reads, Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. So as the Lord uses us, we're a battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider. That's Esau and his tanks. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. And with thee will I break in pieces man and woman. And with thee will I break in pieces old and young. And with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. And Salakia, I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. So from the young, the small, the rich, and the poor, the old to the young, to male and female, the Lord is going to have the elect to destroy these men, women, and children, gather up the spoils, and bring them unto Yahushua to divvy out by lot and collect by land for everybody to have their inheritance in the kingdom, which is already written right in the book of Daniel, so like in the book of Ezekiel, right, the 48th chapter, and various other precepts going into the landmass that was already our inheritance, was given to us by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the covenant through Abraham, right? But through the Spirit, we got to have this prophecy play out to collect this land that's going to be given, whether it be 5 cities, 10, you understand, however the case may be, through the hand of the Lord, right? Let me get 2 more precepts before I close out, right? Get 2 more precepts before I close out. Let's go to the book Isaiah, chapter 33. And it reads, right? It says, Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end, deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Man. And that's a prophecy. We're going to have to deal treacherously. There's no nice way to take a land. There's no nice way to get your spoils back. There's no nice way to recompense the blood that was shed. There's no nice way to be a shield, a hammer, an axe, or a sword, man. It's only one way. It's to deal treacherously and war. And through that, all the rape, rob, violence, and murder that has happened to us, and we have to be joyful and glad in it, man. And don't let these Israelites that just believe in peace and love berate you, man. Or you're modern day Pharisees, or the Lord didn't do this, and stop hating. And they don't, man, don't get on these different sites and be seduced by these effeminate jakes, man. And the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. And everybody that does not want the prophecies and things written to come to pass, they're just in the way. And we got to move things that are in the way, man. The Lord is going to move you because you're in the way. You're fighting against the Heavenly Father, man. Anybody that didn't want to go to war in the ancient world, and they would go back home, man. And the real men of the Lord would take the spoils. They would. The real men of the Lord would hit the cities, man, and the towns. The real men of the Lord would do the work that needs to be done, man. While the other men, they're in the garden, in the vineyards, right? So, I mean, you have to get into this thing and understand how serious this is going to be, man. You have to leap and enjoy and be glad and most high willing that you get to discover and fulfill this lot. Because you're on the edge of your seats in this thing. We're living in the end of the world. Prophecy coming to pass. Every day I wake up, there's something new going on. It's a virus that just hit. You know, it's a mass shooting. It's literally an earthquake every other day. It's something that's going on, man. And chiefly, the main thing that's going on is these alliances are being set. And all hell is about to break loose. You see Russia gearing up. You see China gearing up. You see the so-called U.S. gearing up. You see NATO and these different alliances. They're moving the chess pieces around, getting ready, you understand, for World War III. But with that, right, let me bring out this closing precept. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse number 2. And it reads, be watchful. And being watchful is in all things, man. Watch your spirit, your household, your wives, your children. Watch your spirit. Examination is key, man. And strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. What's ready to die, only you know. Whether it be you reading every day, praying, doing the work of the Lord. And you have to make full proof of this ministry in many ways than one, man. It says, for I have not found thy works perfect before Yahweh. Remember, therefore, how thou hast received and heard. Remember your first love. Remember how the Most High has brought you out of the dust and ashes and has cleansed you and washed you and presented you, you understand, as a vessel fit for this ministry. To prophesy, direct, counsel, right? Sow, cook, clean, whatever the case may be a shoulder to cry on, be a counselor. And these things we have to remember as we receive them and heard them by the hand of the holy prophets. And hold fast. And then don't be soon shaken in your mind by temptation and afflictions. And repent, and to wash yourself from your iniquities and sins. If therefore thou shalt not watch, meaning if you put your head behind your head and you start to parade yourself for Babylon with the bright lights, the folly, the NFL, the NBA, right, the he say, she say, and a puppet set up to keep you in the delusion, I will come unto thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So the Lord said, if you're not watching and being diligent, he's going to visit you a time when you know not. And he's going to visit you, and he's going to blow your candlestick out, man. And Passover's coming up. You understand? Purim's coming up. The destruction of Nicanor is coming up. These high holy days are coming up. Where you have to charge yourself in your households to be in the spirit, man. Right? But with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. And Lord willing, we come back to continue on in prophecy and further things on through the spirit. Right? But with that, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. Shalom.